Assalamu alaikum. I am your instructor Nimra Zafar for the subject of final year project 1. So our today's topic is case study, which is the qualitative method. So we will study in detail how a case study is conducted while doing a research project. What is the purpose of doing case study and what the case study actually is. So let's start with the lecture. Introduction. To graduate students and researchers unfamiliar with the case study methodology, there is often misunderstanding about what a case study is and how it is a form of qualitative research. Case study is a form of qualitative descriptive research that is used to look at individuals, a small group of participants, or a group as a whole. This qualitative method of study emphasizes detailed contextual analysis of a limited number of events or conditions and their relationship. So basically, we conduct contextual analysis in case study. And what is the contextual analysis? For example, if we are studying, we are doing case study on the cultural heritage of Balochi culture. So our context is Balochi culture, and the events or the conditions we see in order to do the analysis of that culture is basically the contextual analysis, and we basically find the relationship between different variables in that culture so that might be able to develop a uh, context in, and we might be able to conduct its analysis. For example, if we are doing case study of Balochi culture. So what we will do, we will observe the activities that are being done in that culture. For example, if there are any specific dance of that culture, we will observe that. And if there is any particular type of food item that is popular in that culture, we will see that. So basically, we will observe different conditions and the relationship between those different variables, and we will do the contextual analysis in that type of case study. Researchers have used the case study research method for many years across a variety of disciplines. So case study method is not limited to any particular subject. So case study can be done in any type of subject. For example, in we can do case study in architecture subject where we can do case study of the buildings. It can be done in any other if we talk about the medical subjects, so the case study can be done on in any medicine, any previously existing medicine. So we have a different variety of disciplines in which we can conduct case study. Then we have a particular definition of case study. It is a systematic inquiry into an event or a set of related events which aims to describe and explain the phenomena of interest. So basically, we have to describe our phenomena of interest through case study. Basically, case study is an inquiry into an event. We are basically making an inquiry that whether this happens or not. So we take a case and study it in details. We study it through the its relative events, and then we explain or describe our particular phenomena of interest. It refers to the collection and presentation of detailed information about a particular participant or small group, frequently including the accounts of the subject themselves. It is an in depth study of a particular situation rather than sweeping a statistical survey. So basically, we are doing an in-depth study of a particular situation. We are not doing details or we are not doing a statistical survey in case study. Basically, we are studying in depth a particular type of the situation. When is a case study appropriate? According to Jen, a case study can be considered when the focus of the study is to answer how and why questions. When we have how and why questions in our research, so case study can be conducted in that type of research. You cannot manipulate the behavior of those involved in the case study. So in case study, what exists, the way anything exists, you just have to show the thing that way. You don't have to manipulate that thing, or you don't have to change that thing according to your own choice, according to your own views. So you cannot manipulate the behavior of the things. You just have to show the things the way they exist. You want to cover contextual conditions because you believe they are relevant to the phenomena under study. So basically, you have a particular context, and you cover the or you study the conditions related to that context, and then you make a detailed study. The boundaries are not clear between the phenomena and the context, so you cannot separate your phenomena of interest from the context. They are very much related to one another, that this is the context of your case study and this is the phenomena you are going to study in that case study. What may be revealed through a case study? To case study, a researcher can closely examine the data within a specific context. Through case study, a researcher can examine contemporary real life situations and provide the basis for the application of ideas and extension of methods. Through case study, a researcher can test theoretical models by using them in real world situations. So, if you have certain kind of theoretical models, or if you have certain type of hypothesis which becomes true, then you develop a theoretical model basically after making the proving the hypothesis. So when you develop a theoretical model, further you can uh, test that theoretical model by doing case study, by doing a research on the previous studies, by doing critical analysis of the previous works done. So case study is a method to test the theoretical models. A case study may not answer a question completely, but it will give some indications and allow further elaboration and hypothesis creation on a subject. So basically, case study is not going to completely answer your research question, but it will give a certain indication that it indicates this or this can happen. So basically uh, indication is given, an indication is given by a case study. It is not a complete answer to your research question, and from those indication we can further elaborate our hypothesis on a particular subject. Why we use a case study? So this is a very important question, why we use our case studies. Case studies are a great way to improve our learning experience because they get the learner involved and encourage immediate use of newly acquired skills. They differ from lectures or assigned readings because they require participation and deliberate application of broad range of skills. So basically, the case study is not any lecture or any assigned reading. It is basically a detailed description or detailed study of any particular kind of case. Case studies help researchers make the difference between knowing what to do, knowing how, when, and why to do. So basically, when a person or a researcher does case study, he is very much clear about what things he has to do now, how he has to do, when and why he has to do. So he's very much clear about his research path. Utilization of the case study as a teaching method. So case study can be utilized as a particular type of teaching method. Say for example, if I'm your teacher for any subject, for any kind of subject, so I can give you a case study to study any sub that topic in detail. Case study I can give you any case study related to any topic to study in detail, so that you might have a better understanding of that topic. Practical application and testing of scholarly knowledge provides an approximation of various professional environments, that is, classrooms, boardrooms, courtroom, or hospital. Incorporates the idea that students can learn from one another by engaging with each other and with each other's ideas, by asserting something and then having it questioned, challenged, and throw back at them so that they can reflect on what they hear and they then refine what they say. Then here we have design of a case study. To obtain as complete a picture of the participant as possible, case study researchers can employ a variety of case study designs. Some common designs include single case and multiple case design. So we have two types of designs in the design of case study. One is single case design and one is multiple case design. Single case design. It is where events are limited to a single occurrence. However, the drawback of this design is its inability to provide a generalizing conclusion, in particular when the events are rare. So this designer has a drawback that we cannot provide a generalized conclusion when the events occurring are very rare. If the events are frequent, we can provide a generalized conclusion, but it becomes very difficult to provide a generalized conclusion when the events occur rarely. Then we have multiple case design. It can be adopted with real life events that show numerous sources of evidence through replication rather than sampling logic. So, real life events occur frequently and they have a number of evidences. Multiple case design occurs where we have events that frequently occur. Then we have further different types of case studies, which include number one is the explanatory case study. This type of case study would be used if you were seeking to answer a question that sought to explain the pre-assumed causal links in real life intervention that are too complex for the survey or the experimental strategy. So, as the name explanatory suggests, that it is an explanation to something. So, when we are seeking to answer a particular type of question, we do case study. We find the answer to particular question through that case study, and then we provide explanation of any assumption which we have done before doing case study. Any assumed hypothesis, we provide explanation to that after doing case study. This type of case study in which we give explanation to any particular type of research question is known as explanatory. In example, you can see analyzing a web-based e-commerce learning community, a case study in Brazil, internet research. So in this type of case study, what will they will be doing? they will analyze a web-based e-commerce learning community and they will do case study in Brazil, right? They will give explanation of this type of e-commerce store. Then there is an exploratory case study, as the name suggests. Exploratory means exploring something. It is a type of case study that is used to explore those situations in which the intervention being evaluated has no clear or single set of outcomes. When we don't have single outcome, we are not sure that this outcome will come. We will do case study to explore what kind of outcome we can have. So this is the kind of exploration. Then in example, we have an observation. An observational study of the development of a nurse patient relationship, clinical nursing research. So, in this type of case study, they are exploring the relationship between the nurse patient and patient. They are not sure that what kind of the relation it can be. It can be positive, it can be negative, or it might be possible that at some points it is positive and at some points it is negative. So this is very ambiguous nurse patient relationship, and the case study which we are going to explore to do in order to explore the kind of the relationship is known as exploratory case study. Then we have descriptive case study. This type of case study is used to describe an intervention or the phenomena and the real life context in which it occurred. So basically, it is similar to explanatory. In explanatory, we are answering any research question. However, in descriptive, basically, we are giving description of any real life context or any real life phenomena which occurs. So basically we are just giving the description of any phenomena in this type of case study. Rather in explanatory, we were answering any research question and then we were giving its explanation. In example, you can see understanding the needs of the woman with Parkinson's disease. So, this Parkinson's disease is a real life contextual disease, or you can say it is a phenomena which occurs. So, basically, we are understanding the needs of women with that disease. So, we are basically giving the description through the understanding. So this is a descriptive type of research in which we will give a description by doing a case study on this type of disease. Then we have multiple case study. It enables the researcher to explore differences within and between cases. So if we have a number of cases, so we will explore the difference between those cases within or and between those cases through doing by doing a case study. Example is innovative community services for rape victim, an application of multiple case study methodology. So we have different kinds of rape victims. What we will do case study, multiple case studies, and then we will explore the difference between those case studies, and that type of case study will be multiple case study. Then we have intrinsic case study. The term intrinsic suggests the researcher who have a genuine interest in the case should use this approach when the intent is to better understand the case. So In order to have a better understanding of the case, you do this type of case study. It is not undertaken primarily because the case represent other cases or because it illustrates a particular trait or problem, but because in all its particularity and ordinariness, the case itself is often first. So basically, it is a representative case which is giving representation of other cases as well. So you choose a representative case and you do its case study. This was intrinsic case study. So as you have a CR in your class that represents the whole class, in this way you have a particular case which represents many other cases. So this type of case study is intrinsic case study. Example, we do things together, a case study of couplehood in dementia. So basically, doing a case study of couplehood, you basically couple is a representation of many other relationships, or you can say a couple is a representation of other couple. So you do case study on a couple and a representative couple, so that can be your intrinsic case study. Then you have instrumental case study. It is used to accomplish something other than understanding a particular situation. It provides insight into an issue or helps to refine a theory. So basically, you have to now achieve something through a case study. So basically, you do instrumental case study in order to achieve something, rather than having understanding of something. Basically, if you have to refine any theory, you do a case study and get help, and then you will refine that theory. Example, components of observable behavior that indicate potential for patient violence in emergency department. So what you will do in this time, you will observe some behaviors and that will help you in indicating the potential for patient violence in emergency department. Then you have collective case study. It is similar in nature and description to multiple case studies. As you do in multiple case study, you study multiple cases and then you explore the difference between those cases. In collective case studies, in the same way you collect a number of cases and you give description of those cases. Example is role stress in the professional life of the school music teacher. Role of stress in the professional life of a school music teacher, a collective case study. So you will not study a single teacher, you will study music teachers in different cases, in different schools, and then you will find out the role of the stress in their professional life. Then we have advantages and limitation of case studies. The primary advantage of case study is that it provides much more detailed information than what is available through other methods such as surveys. So through case study, we have a detailed information about anything. Case studies also allow one to present data collected from multiple methods. Case study can be a lengthy process because you have to it's possible that you have to do a single case study or you have to do a number of case studies in order to uh, have a particular kind of conclusion. Because they provide detailed information about the case in narrative form, it may be difficult to hold a reader's interest if too lengthy. So it is possible that a reader does not find interest in the case study if he or she is reading the case for a very long time, because case studies are lengthy. You have to conclude something by going in detail of something, so it is a lengthy process, so it is possible that you lose your interest while reading that case again and again. Concern that case studies lack rigor. Case studies have been viewed in the evaluation and research field as less rigorous than surveys or other methods. Reasons for this include the fact that qualitative research in general is still considered unscientific by some, and in many cases, case study researchers have not been systematic in their data collection or have allowed bias in their findings. So basically, case study is considered to be unscientific process because basically you are doing studying a case. It might be possible that you represent the case in your own way, in your own opinions. So biasness can be created in the findings of the case study. So, in other findings, when you do statistical analysis of anything, there is no chance that you will do biasness. Basically, you represent the things the way they are calculated or the way they are analyzed. But in case study, what happens, you represent you, it is possible, it is not always that you do this. It might be possible that the researcher who does case study represent the findings in his own views, in the way he feels the things. So this is basically a biased kind of thing, that you can create biasness while representing the findings of any case study. Not generalizable. A common complaint about case studies is that it is difficult to generalize from one case to another. But case studies have also been prone to overgeneralization, which comes from selecting a few examples and assuming without evidence that they are but typical or representative of the population. So what happens in case study is that it is difficult to give a generalized conclusion. You have done one case study and you conclude that uh, this, for example, if you are doing case study on any medicine, which you are going to basically make a new one from that. So you say that this medicine is for uh, applicable to medicine is applicable to birds, so we can apply this to the human beings as well. So this is not a very good conclusion, so you might have to do some other things, some other research or experimental work as well with that case study to give a generalized conclusion. And it sometimes it is possible that you give over generalized conclusion on that case study. Then there are steps that are involved in a case study. So first of all, you have to plan the things, identify stakeholders who will be involved, brainstorm a case study topic considering types of cases and why they are unique of or of interest, identify what information is needed and from whom, identify any documents needed for review, list down the stakeholders to be interviewed or surveyed, national facility and beneficiary levels, and determine sample if necessary. Ensure research will follow international and national ethical research standards, including review by ethical research committees. Develop instruments. Second step is to develop the instruments. Develop interviews or surveys protocols, the rules that guide the administration and implementation of the interview or the survey. Put simply, these are the instructions that are to be followed to ensure consistency across interviews or surveys and thus increase the reliability of the findings. Develop an interview guide or survey that lists the questions or issues to be explored and includes an informed consent form. Please note that you will likely need an interview guide or surveys for each group of stakeholders as question may differ. So it is possible that you have different kinds of questions for different group of stakeholders. Like I can have to interview project managers, architect for a particular project. So I will have different questions for project managers and I will have different questions for architect. This is possible. So I will note the survey questions before conducting the interview or the survey. Where necessary, translate guides into local languages and test the translation. So we have certain type of standards which are we follow internationally. So those standards should be translated into our local languages so they are easily understandable and they can be applicable to our own work. So when we talk about the surveys or the interview, so our guides of those interviews or surveys must be translated into our local languages, and those translations should also be tested. Then we have to train the data collectors, identify and train data collectors. We have to collect data, gather all relevant documents, get up interviews or surveys with stakeholders, seek informed consent of each respondent, written or documented oral. If the respondent has consented, conduct the interview or the survey. Then you have to analyze the data, review all relevant documents, review all interview or survey data, disseminate findings, write reports, solicit feedback, revise, and disseminate. So when you have done analysis of your questionnaire or your survey interview, so you can now write a report on the findings of that. You can give a very good feedback, or if any revision is required, you can give mm, you can give the conclusion that we need the revision here, and then you can disseminate the results. Then what are the potential sources of information? Case studies typically rely on multiple sources of information and methods to provide as complete a picture as possible. Information sources include project documents, project reports, including quarterly reports, midterm reviews. So basically, your project documents are those documents which are relevant to any particular project. For example, if I talk about the bylaws for the high rise building, so I will uh, those bylaws which are the standard documents, they will be part of my project documents. Then I may have architecture plans, schedules as project documents, or the project charter. Then the project reports, including quarterly reports, midterm reviews. So when we are talking about the project time and cost, I'm giving this as an example that if you are talking about the project's time and the cost, so this is this reporting on the project's time and cost is not done after a certain time. It is done after every interval of time. For example, monthly, weekly, monthly, yearly. If my project is of 10 years, so it might be possible that I do monthly reporting, or I may do yearly reporting. If my project is of 2 years, it is possible that I do weekly reporting. So it depends upon the type of the project, how you are going to report the project. Then you have to monitor visits, mystery client reports, as we get plenty of the information from the client reports because client is basically ordering you to do this. So we can have certain answer to our question from the client reports. Then you have facility assessment reports, and then you have interviews. Then, what are the potential sources of information? Questionnaires, survey results, evaluation reports, observations, and sorry for the delay as there is some issue with the laptop. Then we have elements of a case study, which include a case study do not have set elements that are needed to be included. These elements will vary depending upon the case or story chosen, the data collected. However, case studies typically describe a problem or intervention put in place to address a particular problem. Here are some elements that you could draw out from in order to conduct your case study. That is problem. It is essential to identify what the problem was, identify your problem, explain why the problem is important, how was the problem identified, was the problem for identifying the problem effective, and the second step is the step taken to address that problem. Now you have to address the problem. What was done, activities, interventions, inputs, where, by, whom, for whom. Then the results. What were the results of your intervention, particularly the significant or unique results? Then challenges and how they were met. This focuses on what challenges or difficulties you encountered and what you did to overcome them. Then beyond results. Are the results mentioned above sustainable? Why or why not? Lessons learned, what lessons were learned, programmatic, technical, financial, process, etc. Then how you have to present the case studies. Case studies are flexible in that they can be presented in a number of ways. There is no specific format to follow. Here is a suggested report outline that could be used in presenting a case study. First of all, you have to write introduction and justification. Then you have to write methodology of your case study, that how you are going to conduct that, how was the process carried out, describe the process of selecting the case and the data collection sources, as well as how data was collected. Then what assumptions are there, if any, if you do assumed anything, or you have any particular type of hypothesis for conducting the research, so you have to explain that. Are there any limitation with this method? What instruments were used to collect data? You may want to include some or all in the appendix. What samples are being used? Over which period of time was this data collected? The problem, then you have to identify the problem, the steps taken to address the problem, then you have to give the results, then you have to write down the challenges and how they were met. Beyond results, what was it sustainable or not, then lesson learned, then you have to give a conclusions, and then you have to write the appendices. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. We will be having an other lecture on the research in the next class.